Episode 9 incoming. So we are on the precipice of the final act of A Mirror of Shadows. I cannot believe we are doing it. It is happening. We are doing this. Oh my gosh. I texted my friends, 30 minutes ago and said, okay, I just printed it out. Now I'm going to go try to get ready. I have not showered. I threw on clothes. I've got yesterday's pants on, but we are here. And this is good. I think it's good. There are some tweaks. There are some things I can do to make it better in the final version, but you're going to find out some interesting information today, which I think will be super fun. Hashtag episode 9 in the chat on Twitch or YouTube if you would like to enter to win the pages for today, which because we have a cast of characters are very quickly highlighted so that I can remember who is speaking. We do have 2 different POVs today, Kelly. I won't tell you whose, except we know it's Bex. It's almost always going to be Bex, but who else will we get to hear from today in the point of views? We shall find out. I posted a vlog today over on my Heart Breathings channel for yesterday. And if you watched it, you will see that I was busy from 6:30 in the morning through midnight last night. And so I actually am not recording a vlog today at all. I am just taking some time off. I was going to go see Chloe Gong tonight at a book signing at Half Price Books. I'm just not going to go. I need a night of rest. So now the challenge is deciding what to do on my night of rest, because it is one of those things where it's like when you have a night that you're like, okay, I'm going to rest. You try to make the most of it, and then you end up like trying to figure out what the best thing is to do. And that is where my brain goes crazy. You were yelling at me. Listen, it's my nature. It is 1000% my nature. And if you're into human design, it is also my human design to be busy. But there is a limit. There's a limit. Yeah, it's like play. What should we play? Like I could play more Silent Hill. I could play just my own video game, not be online, not share it with anybody, just do my own thing. I could read. I don't know. There's so many things. What always ends up coming up is I'll clean, but that is not really super relaxing. The thing about cleaning is that it does actually make you feel better. So you feel more relaxed when things are clean. So what I might do is just like really clean my bedroom. My bathroom is pretty clean, but like really clean my bedroom. We're not going to talk about my closet. That is in a vault until later. Oh my gosh, that would be so fun. Solo karaoke of K-pop Demon Hunter songs. I could be down for that. I could definitely be down for that. Thank you, KH. You did a great job. Last night on Silent Hill was a tough night. Oh my gosh, it was a tough night. It was a tough night for sure. Reading while in a nice hot bubble bath is definitely an option. And you know what's funny is that I bought Halloween bath bombs from Lush in 2025 that I did, or 2024 that I still have not used. So they're over a year old. I'm like, hopefully bath bombs stay good because I have their like bubble bars and their bath bombs. So I'm going to relax tonight. Tomorrow we are supposed to, we're supposed to go on a double date night, but I just texted our friends and I was like, TBD on that because I might need more rest. So because there'll be no vlog today, tomorrow's video is actually going to be a November notebook challenge instead. So that'll be fun. That's one thing I'm going to do is pull out my notebooks and have a good little session. Oh, I just saw in the background, you see this little skull is wearing a tiara that has dragonflies on it. And it's like, it's not amethyst, but it's like aura quartz crystals. I thought about wearing that today during my reading. Yeah, movie would be good. You know, my sister told me that the movie Weapons is really good. That's like the horror movie. And then, but George won't watch that probably with me. I don't know. All I know is I don't want to go out. I want to just, maybe I'll take a shower. I will take a shower because I have not had time to do that today. Oh, it's good. Jenna says it's good. Okay, maybe that's a good one. Maybe George sometimes will watch horror with me if he can just like be doing his own thing or scrolling on his phone. Oh, you watched it with your daughter. How old is your daughter? Is she adult or is she little? I used to watch horror movies with my sister when I was little, but yeah, stuck on The Witcher. The game or the show? I have not watched the, like, Liam Hemsworth version. I just feel like it's just not the same. I can't get behind it. She's 20. Okay. Listen, horror with my sister is, like, what saved our whole relationship. So amazing. All right, so today it's a little gory. I don't know if George will like that. So today, we have 5,000 something words to read. We have 12 pages, 2 points of view today, and, some twists and turns. So, Martha, you are right on time. We are then going to continue chatting until the top of the hour. So once the reading is over, we can still chat like coffee chat style. And then afterward, we'll take a 15-minute break. And for those of you in the Broken Chapter Society, we will still have the 45-minute BCS breakdown afterward. So I hope to see you all there. If you are not in the Broken Chapter Society, one way that you can support these readings that I'm doing for free here with no ads on YouTube is to subscribe. It's only $2 a month, $1.99 a month to be a part of the Broken Chapter Society, but no expectation thereof. No, Crystal, thank you so much. No expectation, but if you would like to join us, we do have some fun. So let's keep it going. And thank you to all my supporters and members who do help support me so that I can keep doing all of this and writing these books and still get paid for it. So thank you for that. All right. Episode 9. Let's pull out my little thing here. Episode 9, The Shadow Beast. Bex. Rest felt impossible to come by after the strange apparition in my mirror. I could feel the weight of eyes on me every time I moved or shifted in the bed. I wasn't looking forward to another day of training all alone in a small room. Could the Regent watch me no matter where I was, even when I thought I was alone? I dressed quickly, every muscle aching from stress and lack of rest. When I opened my door to head to a quick breakfast, though, I nearly collided with Orion. "How long have you been standing there?" His mouth twitched slightly, not exactly a smile. "You're being invited back to the group this morning." My eyes widened, and I had to keep myself from throwing my arms around the ancient wizard. I settled for bouncing up and down like a puppy. "Seriously, is this your decision or Slate's?" "Does it matter?" he asked, a thin eyebrow slightly raised. My cheeks warmed. Did everyone on this team realize there was an underlying current of desire between Slate and me? Because I had a feeling Slate would die if he knew people thought he actually cared about someone beyond their ability to win these games. Heaven forbid he was something more than a monster or a warrior. I anxiously followed Orion back toward the training area, downing a piece of fruit and a small bowl of something that seemed like sweet oatmeal from the mess hall on the way. When we stepped into the lower arena, the rest of our team was already assembled. Callie stood near the front, wrist still bandaged from the blast I'd almost hit her with. My shoulders relaxed a bit when she winked at me, a sly smile on her face. Ilara's eyes shone brightly, excited to see me back in the arena. I wasn't exactly sure how the witch felt about me personally, but she had saved my life in the scarf trial. And she didn't seem to be angry now that I was back, so that was a good sign. Brim, however, towered above the group like a mountain, jaw clenched tightly, and eyes filled with the darkness of storms. Slate stood at the center of the training floor, hands clasped behind his back like always. There was something comforting about seeing him there, calm and collected. He didn't seem to be worried about whether someone had seen us together last night or seen his runes. And if he wasn't worried, I surely had no reason to worry, right? He turned when I approached. "Orion tells me you've learned a lot over the last few days," he said. "Today, you need to prove it." There was an or else feel to that ultimatum that made me swallow back fear. Before I could respond, the sharp crack of crystal against stone split the air. A messenger in pale robes appeared at the edge of the platform, bowing low. "Warden," she said, voice ringing clear, "the Regent summons your team to the upper arena for an exhibition of your progress." Slate's expression didn't change, but the air around him shifted. "An exhibition," he repeated, "before the games. We're still in training." "The Regent is anxious to see how your special training is going," she said with a pointed glance at me. "Have they ever done this before?" I asked Callie, knowing she'd been through the Amethyst Games several times already. She shook her head. "Never, and I don't like it." "When are we to report? In a few days?" Slate asked. "Your immediate attendance is requested." The woman nodded toward a pair of male sentinels that had followed her inside our training ring. Slate's hands clasped into fists at his side. "Let her know. We'll be there as soon as we can." He bowed his head to the messenger, and the woman glanced at me one last time before bowing her head and disappearing across the bridge. The two sentinels who had come with her remained by the entrance, waiting for us to join them. Slate waited until she was truly gone before he turned around and addressed us as a group. "An exhibition a week before the games is not something I've ever seen before," he said. "We have to go into it expecting that anything can happen. Traps, surprises, true danger." Even though he barely glanced in my direction, I knew that last part was directed at me. "Protect each other. Communicate every shift, every danger, every fear that comes into your head. If the other teams are also in the exhibition, it will be a rare opportunity to see their abilities before the games. Size them up. Take notice of every special or unique ability that's used. Note which team and which condemned used it. We can use that to our advantage in the real challenge next week." "And what will be the rules of this exhibition?" Ilara asked, tapping a fingertip against her red lips. "Will we be allowed to hurt them? Or do we play nice?" I held back a smile. I'd missed her darkness over the past few days. "The Regent will likely disclose the rules when we arrive, but if we face the other teams, do your best to play nice. And most importantly, don't show the full extent of your capabilities. We want to satisfy the Regent without giving away all of our advantages. Any other questions?" For a long beat, no one said anything. Brim, though, finally grumbled. "And what if I refuse to fight on her side?" He threw a glance my way. "Then you're not nearly as strong or as loyal as I imagined you to be," Slate said. Brim straightened, lifting his chin as the muscles in his jaw worked. "This is our team, and in the arena, whether it's an exhibition or the Shadow Games, we will work together as a team. I don't care if you're the strongest member. If you can't do as I say, you can go rot in the dungeons with the rest of the soulless beings there." I shuddered, remembering the hollowed-out eyes and spider-like fingers hissing as skin met metal. Was that really only a few weeks ago? It felt like years of my life had gone by already. Brim seemed to remember them just as well as I did because his shoulders curled in a little and he lowered his eyes to the ground. "If there are no other questions, follow the sentinels to the Regent's arena. Wait for me just outside the entrance." Orion and Brim left first, but Callie held back for a minute, waiting for me, which meant Brim also stayed back. But as I moved to join them, Slate stepped close, his arm nearly brushing mine as he whispered, "Wait." Callie's eyes went wide, and she squeezed her lips together, trying to hold back an excited smile. I gave her a death stare as she slowly walked with Brim to join the others. I waited, my heart racing as I looked up to meet Slate's gaze. "Orion says your control has improved significantly. Can you handle this?" "I can almost make it through a session without accidentally blowing something up. That feels significant." He didn't look amused. "Don't let your guard down out there. The Regent doesn't hold exhibitions for fun, and the timing of this, after last night, she's testing me. She's testing us," he said, his dark hair falling around his face as he looked down at me, "or toying with us." I met his gaze. "And if we fail?" His eyes darkened, silver flashing like lightning in a storm. Then she'll make sure we don't get a chance to try again. That chill ran down my spine, had nothing to do with the temperature. Is this just for show, or am I in danger? Be ready for anything, he said, turning toward the stairs. Whatever this is, it isn't just a performance. It's a trial. I wanted to tell him that someone had been watching me, had been in my room, but he was already moving toward the others. I ran to catch up too, my heart practically in my throat. All that work Orion and I had done to quiet my magic, and here I was freaking out the first time back with the group. A surprise exhibition was not on my bingo card for the day. The climb to the upper arena felt like entering a new world. So far, I'd only ever been on the path from the lower dungeons to the barracks and the training grounds. Condemned like us weren't allowed in the main parts of the city, and we certainly weren't invited up to the castle, even though we were close enough to live in its shadow every day. We climbed in silence through a narrowing passage of glassy stone. The deeper we went, the more the light fractured, scattering across the walls in shards of violet and blue. My reflection flashed in each surface, 100 versions of myself all walking toward the same fate. 2 sentinels opened the carved glass doors at the top of the stairs. Light poured out sharp and blinding, forcing me to lift a hand to shield my eyes. When my vision cleared, I gasped, practically choking on my awe. The upper arena wasn't like the one we trained in. This space was alive. Violet and silver crystals jutted from the walls, and the air shimmered with energy. Magic filled every space like oxygen. Tiered balconies encircled the pit, filled with spectators, not like the ones we'd seen in the lower arena or the dungeons the day of the scarf trial either. These looked like nobles and witches in their shimmering robes and elaborate jewels. Their voices filled the air with excitement, ready for a good show. If this was what the Amethyst Arena looked like, what would the main arena in the center of the shard be like? I trembled to even imagine it. At the far end, the Regent sat upon a raised dais made of amethyst so dark it was almost black except for the deep purple that reflected the shine of the false sun. Instead of her normal bodysuit and armor, she was dressed in a gown that cascaded down her body like spilled ink, each fold of its lower skirt catching faint streaks of purple. Her hair was coiled high in an elaborate pattern of knots and braids bound by a circlet of blackened metal shaped into twisting vines. At its center glimmered a single shard of violet crystal, cut to a perfect point that aimed toward the sky like a blade. She looked otherworldly, inhuman, and she was smiling. "Welcome, my amethyst wardens," she said, her voice carrying easily through the enchanted air. "It's been too long since we've had a proper display of strength." Her eyes flicked to Slate, then to me. "And I am told our teams this year are particularly special." My stomach dropped. I simply couldn't wait until next week's games to get a taste of this extraordinary new talent. Mother is dying to brag about you to all her sisters before the Shadow Games begin, she said, her tone deceptively playful, despite the underlying threat of her mother's power. Around the arena, crystalline doors slid open, releasing the other amethyst teams one by one. Each entered in perfect formation, their movements precise and silent. They were dressed identical to our team, but with a different symbol representing the marks I knew they also wore on their skin. Their warden's marks, just like the crescent moon, branded on my own. I recognized most of them from the scarf trial. We'd run into them on their way to training sessions or eating dinner at the next table in the mess hall. It wasn't lost on me. They had obviously been brought here before us, briefed on the task of the day, and organized behind the scenes so they could make that grand entrance. Our team, meanwhile, had just arrived, still standing, confused at the top of the stairs. Slate shifted beside me, posture tightening. "Stay alert." A pair of sentinels in silver armor opened a gate in front of us, motioning for our team to descend the stairs. As soon as we joined the other teams on the arena floor, the Regent rose to her feet. "The rules are simple," she said, her voice rippling through the chamber. No external weapons, only what you carry within you. You cannot directly attack an opposing team, which means no cross-team fatalities. With those last words, I let out a slow breath. At least she didn't intend to get rid of me entirely. Maybe she wanted to test whether I should really be on this team. Callie said Slate's team always wins the Amethyst games. Maybe the Regent simply wanted to make sure the strongest players were on the strongest team. But as much as I hoped I was reading way too much into this, I couldn't ignore the fact that Slate seemed just as scared as I was. I wish I had some kind of crystal ball to tell what she's thinking. I didn't have enough experience with the Regent to know what she was capable of, or whether she had a beating heart inside her chest. But I did know that any daughter of a true priestess of the Order of Shadows had to be extremely powerful and extremely cruel. This game is called The Trial of the Shadow Beast. Your objective: destroy him as quickly as you can. With a flick of her wrist, the entire arena floor shimmered. Dark mist coiled from the walls, crawling over the crystalline ground until everything glowed faintly purple. The light dimmed, shadows stretching long and thin. Above us, a large 5-sided crystal prism appeared. Each side carried the mark of a warden, and beneath each mark was the number 0. Points will be magically calculated and displayed on the screens above you. 1 hit point of damage to the Shadow Beast equals 1 point on the screen. The team who accrues the most points will receive an advantage at the start of the games next week. Whoa, my mouth opened in surprise as I stared up at what I could only think to call a scoreboard. It was like living inside a video game that unfortunately did not give you the ability to respawn if you died. I glanced around briefly, looking for Lavender, suddenly remembering the strength vial she'd given me last time we met. I carried it with me everywhere, which ended up being a lucky choice since someone had been in my room and destroyed my crystal last night. Would it have gotten Lavender in trouble if they'd found it? I still hadn't broken the news to Callie about the crystal, but hopefully she wouldn't be too upset. I was still devastated about it myself. Any team that breaks formation will be judged unworthy and will suffer a disadvantage in the first game next week, she added. Wardens, leave your teams to face the beast alone. I felt the pulse of the mark on my chest, one hard thud that stole the breath from my lungs. Slate's magic brushed against mine, an echo of heat across the distance. He turned his head slightly, silver eyes locking on mine. Be careful, he said before joining the other wardens on the sidelines. The trial of the Shadow Beast, the Regent said, holding a gloved hand high in the air. Begin. The floor split open, and I had to spread my feet to get balance. A surge of black light erupted upward, scattering the mist. Something moved beneath it, massive and shifting like a creature made of flesh and smoke. Callie's whisper cut the silence. I thought she said no fatalities. No cross-team fatalities, Orion said. She said nothing about this beast having any rules. Ilara's wild eyes met mine as she slashed a long fingernail across her forearm, drawing blood. This will be no problem, she said. Think of it like a giant puppy dog. We will be strong. Stay behind me, Brim shouted, drawing the team into formation. He didn't seem to have any permanent damage from the blast the other day, despite the fact that I'd hit him with the most powerful magic I'd ever cast in my life. He had yet to explain to us what he was, but I was guessing some kind of rock golem, maybe, or a troll. I'd never met one to tell, but whatever he was, I hoped his stone skin was strong against shadow beasts. The creature screamed, and the first strike of shadow hit the arena floor hard enough to make the crystals rattle around us. In the stands, the crowd cheered and broke out into applause as several long tentacles emerged from the mist. Okay, maybe less peppy dog, more octopus, Ilara said, looking way more excited than afraid. Meanwhile, fear had me in a chokehold. My hands burned with power I hadn't called forth. The mark on my chest flared with pain. Steady, Orion whispered to me. You can do this. The thing that rose from the darkness was not smoke or shadow at all, but matter, so dense it seemed to drink the light around it. Its hide was layered with scales of cracked crystal plates. 5 massive appendages extended from its core, one for each team. Tentacles thicker than tree trunks, each moving with slow, dreadful certainty of something that could crush an army. When it roared, the sound vibrated through my bones. "Formation," Brim said. Our team moved into position. He and Callie moved up front, with Alara just behind. I hung back, palms tingling as the creature turned toward us. "Remember your breath," Orion said. "Magic follows focus. Focus follows breath." I inhaled slowly through my nose, exhaled through my mouth, and reached for the spark in my core. The light stirred, warm and alive, but not wild, not yet. Brim launched first, his fist slamming into the ground, creating a series of stone spikes that rose from the floor, the last few piercing the beast's flesh. The scoreboard above beeped. +4. "We heard it," Callie said. "I'm going to get a better view from above. Find a weak spot." She shifted into her crow form and disappeared through the mist. "I will create my own weak spot," Ilara said, glancing at me. "When I do, hit it straight in the center." She wiped her fingertips across her bloodied arm, rearing back as the blood turned to solid red daggers. She released them, somehow controlling the trajectory of each blade. I watched in awe as the daggers landed in a perfect diamond pattern on the back of the shadow beast. That was my target, and I did not want to mess this up. Instead of focusing on the terrifying situation we were in, I thought of the bowls of light, taking my energy to a place of calm command before sending it forward. As soon as I felt the power inside me respond, I released the gold that shot forward and carved through the beast's hide. I didn't quite hit the center of Alara's target, but it was close enough. The beast's roar made the crystals at the edge of the arena tremble, and the number on the screen flashed again. +9. "Good hit," Callie shouted as she landed back beside Brim, who merely grunted his approval, eyes never leaving the monster. She shouted something at him, making motions with her arms, but I couldn't hear their conversation over the crowd. Across the arena, the other Amethyst teams were fighting their own battles with the beast. One group had formed a tight circle near the east wall, their magic flickering between coordinated bursts of ice and flame. Another team scattered like startled birds, dodging the sweep of a tentacle that came down hard enough to crack the crystal floor. The scoreboard flashed erratically. +5, +7, +2, numbers pulsing and fading as fast as the strikes landed. A scream tore through the air. I turned in time to see a pair of condemned crushed beneath one of the beast's limbs, their bodies dragged into the beast's mouth before anyone could reach them. The crowd roared its approval, 1,000 voices rising in a single bloodthirsty note. I nearly fell to my knees. This could not be my life now. What if that happened to us? "Eyes forward," Brim snapped, his eyes narrowing at me in anger. "Don't lose focus." I forced my eyes to look away from the wreckage, from the scattered trails of smoke curling where people had been only moments ago. The beast twisted violently, flinging shards of broken crystal through the air. Orion shielded our group at the last second, each of the shards turning to dust the moment it hit. All around us, the battle raged in flashes of color: violet lightning, silver flame, red smoke, magic I'd hardly noticed during the scarf game. Had everyone's magic been increasing since the training began, just like mine? Was the shard awakening something in all of us? Points flickered above the other teams, but our number, glowing gold at the center, stayed at the top for now. I tried to steady my breathing as we fought, but it became more difficult as the air became thicker and the noise of the crowd thundered louder in my ears. My pulse tripped faster, magic sparking under my skin as if it wanted to join the chaos. And then something changed. The temperature dropped so suddenly I saw my own breath when I exhaled. The creature's movement slowed, its eyes turning from violet to pure white, and with that shift came a weight that pressed against my chest, invisible and suffocating. I faltered, trying to draw air, but my lungs wouldn't expand. "Bex," Elara called, but her voice was muffled, far away. No one else on the team seemed to be experiencing anything new. They kept fighting like normal, but I was struggling to hold on to consciousness, the weight on my chest increasing moment by moment. I placed a hand to my mark, desperately wishing Slate could read my mind. I searched for him on the sidelines, but the mist was too thick now. The beast surged again, striking at Brim. He caught the blow on his forearm, snarling. "Strike, Bex, now!" he barked over his shoulder. I tried. I forced my breath, just like Orion taught me, in, out. The pressure eased a fraction, but then someone pushed back. An icy hand wrapped around my throat from behind. I reached for it, but there was nothing there. Nothing I could physically see or touch, but it was there. Invisible fingers pressing into the hollow of my neck, cutting off the air. My vision blurred. I gasped, staggering. No one else reacted. They didn't see it. The shadow beast's head tilted toward me as if commanded. "Move now!" Brim's voice distant as the creature struck again. I dove sideways, barely clearing the blow. Orion's shields covered part of me, but several crystal shards sliced into my shoulder before I hit the ground. Pain focused me. I closed my eyes, drawing the light inward, but every time I found stillness, that invisible grip around my throat tightened. The mark on my chest blazed with heat, but I couldn't obey him right now. I could hardly breathe. The beast lunged again. Elara caught one of its limbs in a net of red webbing, but another tendril slipped through, aiming straight for me. Despite there being 5 teams on this battlefield, the beast was coming for me, and for me alone. I raised my arm instinctively when a shield of light flared to life around me. The impact rattled my bones, but Orion's barrier held, barely. Brim was there a second later, slamming his shoulder into the creature. "You're holding us back," he yelled. "Get it together or get off the field." I wanted to scream at him, to tell him there was something wrong, that something had its claws in me, but I couldn't form the words. That's when I lifted my gaze to the dais, to her. The Regent leaned forward, her eyes locked on mine. Her hand was raised, gloved fingers flexing in time with the pressure on my throat as the corner of her lips turned up in a cruel smile. Rage cut through my fear. I forced my body upright, teeth clenched. The creature came again, a wave of shadow and smoke, and I met it head on. My palms burned as I shaped the energy the way Orion taught me, drawing it not from fear but from fury. Contain it, control it. Golden light flared from my hands, wrapping around the beast's limbs and shoving it aside. The scoreboard pulsed. +12. Callie whooped in triumph. Elara sent another set of daggers flying. Even Brim grunted something like approval. I could do this. We just had to kill this thing faster. Once the battle was over, she would have to stop her attack. But the moment I took another step, the pressure around my throat doubled. The pain dropped me to my knees. I couldn't fight it. I couldn't breathe. The light I'd trained so hard to command collapsed inward, imploding under the weight of my fear. In its place, darkness bled out of my skin, slow at first, then all at once. It spread across the floor around me in a spiral of shadow, rising like a storm until I could barely see the arena, my team, or even my own hands. Somewhere beyond the haze, I heard my team shouting, screaming for me to stop. The shadow beast's massive arm lifted for another strike. I didn't have enough power to kill it in one blow, and I didn't have enough time to survive the battle if it lived. I summoned every shred of will left in me and did the only thing I could think of. I reached into my pocket, uncorking the vial Lavender had given me, praying for enough strength for one last spell. Then I gathered every ounce of darkness inside me and hurled it not toward the beast, but toward the woman with her hand on my throat. May she choke on it. It never reached her, though. The blast of darkness exploded against an invisible barrier, cracking it like a shell as ashes rained down on those of us in the arena. The shockwave hurled me backward, and the pain flared white-hot down my spine as I hit the ground. I tried to lift my head, but the world tilted sideways. The Regent's voice commanded the wardens, telling them to finish off the beast. Light flashed around us, and bits of tentacles and flesh scattered across the stone floor. My last sight, before darkness closed in, was the Regent standing there, her eyes filled with rage as she lowered a trembling, gloved hand to her side. Then everything went black. The Regent. She was still breathing. The girl lay crumpled on the cell floor, her body a fragile curve in the darkness. Even unconscious, she looked tense, afraid. Who was this girl? She wasn't on the official list of condemned for this solstice, and she definitely had not been in the shard before this latest opening of the mirror portal. So where had she come from? And why? I watched her for a long moment before I spoke. She ruptured the barrier. That cannot happen again. The sentinel at my side stiffened. Do you want her executed, my Regent? No, I snapped. I want my barriers fortified. The man bowed and left the room. The air in this wing of the castle was always colder, quieter, a reminder of what the shard took from those who misused its gifts. This girl had lasted longer than most, though, longer than I expected here in the cells, but by morning she would be weakened, her power drained and stored in the soul stone beneath this floor. It would be delicious to taste it for myself later. There was something in her I hadn't anticipated, both light and shadow, and a rebelliousness I would have admired if I didn't loathe her the way I did. I crouched to study her more closely, careful not to let my gown touch the soot-covered bars. Her breathing hitched slightly as I leaned closer. You should not have survived that, I whispered, and yet here you are. She didn't stir. Slate's mark on her skin flared once, faintly, before fading again. The shard wanted her. It hungered for her power. I could feel it in the way the walls seemed to pulse around her, the faint shimmer in the air that followed her every breath. Eventually, this place would do what it did with most powerful witches. It would devour her. But I was too impatient to let it happen naturally, not with my own goals at stake. A soft knock sounded at the door. Regent? I rose, smoothing the folds of my gown before turning. Yes. The crowd has been dispersed and the wardens await your command. Tell them there will be no winner today. To get back to their training. I paused. But when Warden Slate's team is finished for the day, I want you to bring me the gargoyle. The sentinel hesitated. Brim, Regent? Yes. I turned back to the girl, watching the slow rise and fall of her chest. He seems to despise this girl. I can use that. But Regent, Slate will not. Slate is not to know about this. Do you understand? He bowed nervously and shut the door, leaving me alone with her again. I studied her for a long while, listened to her uneven breath, watched as tendrils of shadow curled around her fingertips. What did he see in her? Her eyelids fluttered, just slightly, as if she could hear my thoughts. Sleep, I said softly. You'll need it. I straightened, adjusting the dark circlet at my temple. Then I left her there, alone in the half-light of her failure, as the echoes of her defiance followed me down the hall. Dun, dun. All right. Yes. I mean, I can't tell you what's going to happen. I can just tell you that we know what we know. He is a gargoyle. Now we know a little bit more about him. Episode 9 smash. Thank you. Thank you. We get the Regent's point of view. We get our first real sense of the gladiator style fighting that is going to happen with kind of someone taking lead. Um, I thought Casey said, kind of lit RPG vibes. So one of the things when George and I were kind of talking through this possibilities for this world and how we were going to do it. Some of the inspiration came from Gladiator. Some of the inspiration came from things like Squid Games or Alice in Borderland, where you have these games that you don't know what the game is going to be before you step into the arena. And then also some of the inspiration came from Ruby, which is RWBY. It's an anime that's one of my favorites. At least if you count the first few seasons. It kind of went off the rails a little bit and we stopped watching it at the end. But I did hear the ending is better, but we kind of lost interest somewhere through the middle of it. But the first few seasons are amazing. And I think it's season 2, they have these like sort of exhibition, school versus school. Well, Janine, we can argue about whether it's an anime. To me, it's an anime. But if you want to be a purist, I guess you could say it's not. But I call it an anime. So they have these battles that they fight against fellow teams, like academies, and it's kind of interesting because they each have their own sort of like aura that you can see when they get damaged. It's sort of like a magical shield. And you can see that when they get damaged, that it goes down. And then if they were to get hit after the shield is over, then it can, kill them or hurt them seriously. But then also there's a similar type of thing, like when they're on the battlefield, like facing the team they're about to face, the like thing will spin and it'll give you 2 different types of like mountains versus the beach or whatever. And certain people have affinities for certain types of beasts or certain types of like somebody might be better on the beach, somebody else might be better in lightning or on the mountains or whatever. And so it's really, really interesting that the way that was. So I started to think, okay, we have this very obvious fantasy world where they're not like watching TVs and stuff in their room. So we're kind of in what seems to be sort of a low-tech fantasy world. But once they get to the higher level arenas, we're going to start to see like crystal magic that becomes like technology. So that's kind of interesting. That's what I've heard, Danya, is that idea of like for a couple of seasons, it got pretty like I'm back to watch it because it doesn't feel like you could just like get everything like you could skip it, right? But maybe we could. I don't know. Is it lacking for everybody or just my internet? I don't know. I'm not getting a message that the internet is bad. Are you withholding the regent's name intentionally? Yes, not because there's some like big secret name to her. Oh no, it's lagging altogether. Well, I can't do anything about it, unfortunately. It's not giving me a message, so we just got to keep moving forward. I don't know. The kids are home. Is it just the sound? Dun dun dun. I don't know what to do about it. The last several videos have done it too. Did a refresh and it got better. Yeah, I don't see anything here that says that it's bad. So all I can do is just keep moving. Now I forgot. Yeah, I know. Thank goodness it waited till I was done. Blame the Regent. I'm withholding the microphone's plugged in. Yes, sometimes it can be the devices connecting. That's why I said the family's home. So it could be. I can try to refresh myself and tell George, but George is dealing with a lot. His dad's in ICU and it's just phone calls just are coming in nonstop. So he might be on the phone. It's like he's in the next room. Yeah, and that is also possible. It could be YouTube because other lives. I can refresh and we'll see. All right. I'm back. I don't know if the internet is better, but we can see if it's good. At least it didn't happen during the reading. I noticed the other day when I went back to record some of it, the end was off on my voice. So, ooh, Asana is currently down. No telling. Could be web service problem. Because we're going through StreamYard to YouTube to Twitch. So, is it better or not better? It's not better. I don't know what to do. We could just say goodbye. But we got Broken Chapter Society coming up too. Thank you guys. It's still choppy. Yeah, it's not giving me a message, but nothing I can do at this point. So I'm not withholding the Regent's name just because there's some secret reveal as to her name, unless it's secret to me and it'll be someday like, wow, I didn't realize that. It's more just like that it's more to state a point that she's not necessarily like a person in and of herself. She is a function of the of of her mother, right? Like there's always a hierarchy that's happening here at every level. Like we think Slate's in charge, but he's not really in charge because the regent's in charge. But really, there's not a regent who's in charge. It's really her mother, and her mother's not even really in charge. It's the person ahead of her. So there's always that level of like who's really in charge. And so with the regent, it's just sort of like Your Highness is sort of what they all call her, and she does have a name, but otherwise she's really just a tool um, for the whatever, a tool for the Order of Shadows and so on. And of course, that will be more of that will get deepened as we go into this series. Do you enjoy writing the villain's POV? I do. I do enjoy snippets of it, like writing the Emerald Priestess's point of view at the beginning of book 8, I think it is, was so fun for me. And then getting to like take Magda, like you'll see some of that stuff if you read through the Shadow Demon saga. Some of those moments of villain POVs are really fun, just to show that little bit of behind the scenes. I really do enjoy that. I think it's really fun. And sometimes I will write the villain's POV, even if it doesn't make it into the book, just to try to understand. Because as people will say, like villains, they may know they're a villain, but they also always feel justified in what it is that they're doing. Like villains always feel like they're right, like they deserve to be doing what they're doing, or that the people that they're hurting deserve to be hurt. And so it's really just one of those moments of like showing the villain as the hero of their own story. And sometimes I will do that. Yeah, sounds like the Sean Chen in Wheel of Time. Yeah, I think it can be fun. And I think that if you really want to write good villains, one of the best ways or best practices that you can do is, even if you're not going to show that villain in the story, to write them on your own for your own purposes. Have a conversation with your villain, thinking through what your villain is doing. In my plots, I always have a thread at the bottom that I'm talking about. What is the villain up to at this point? What are they really going through? And you'll find, if you read the Shadow, I won't give spoilers necessarily, but if you read the Shadow Demon saga, you'll find out like who the sort of biggest, baddest person is somewhere kind of towards the second half of the series. And at that point, I started really thinking through, okay, what is this villain? What is their end game? Why did they do all of this? What is their reasoning behind it? What's their justification behind it? And that revealed so much about how the story will end and why they are the way they are. And I think that's part of why book 12 has been so difficult, is because there's so many moving pieces that have to all come together in perfect harmony. But like I said, it's been helpful to write this story because this story is clarifying things and getting me back into the world and excited about the world in a way that allows me to get feedback and to get that sort of excitement going from your feedback, things moving forward, instead of just being in my own little closet for like 2 years writing this book all by myself. It's really helpful to have that positive feedback and like, things are going well. Okay, now I'm excited. I'm back in the world. I'm getting back into it. And the more I'm allowing myself to immerse into it, the more I am getting ideas to flow. And so that has been super helpful. So Reputation vibes, the fit check for Sarah's villain era. I mean, for me personally, on a personal note, I have never, I'm sure that I have been the villain in some people's stories at some point, but I like anger, revenge, none of that is ever a part of my life. Like if I'm in conflict with someone, it's very rarely anger that I feel. It's always like sadness, disappointment, those kind of feelings. But I do like I have had therapies say, it's possible George did something because I messaged him. So hopefully, let's hope that's better. Thank you guys for letting me know that it was not looking good. But I feel like George and several therapists have said to me, if you ever find a way to really like unleash and tap into your anger, there's no telling. Like it's maybe better for you to hold that inside after not having like a lifetime of hardly ever being angry. I'm just not an angry person most of the time. Yeah, it's cruel to be kind. It is cruel. It's like I take it all on myself. Like I must have done something wrong, or I feel sad for the way that the relationship is going. I very rarely feel anger. Do you feel icky sometimes writing the villain? No, that's a good question though, but I don't ever feel icky. I think maybe because I know good always triumphs, but I have never hit a point where I've felt icky writing the villain. That's a good question though. I'm trying to think back to like POVs because you don't, well, you do. I'm trying to think, where do you get villains POV? Because like even in Eternal Sorrows, you get villain POV. Through parts of Shadow Demon Saga, you do. Haha, I like this. It says for some reason I find dark characters better. You write them better than the good ones. So that's that like that anger stores inside you being like, I will write it and channel it into this. I love my villains more than my protagonists. I love it. I'm writing a dark novel and some of the things I write, I have to shake it off a bit. Yeah, I can understand that. I think though that like I don't ever go deep enough into the villain side of it or the darkness of it, but um there are things that I know are going to have to happen to make book 12 come together. And that is hard to write. So for me, the darkness is harder because I know my characters are feeling it more so than my villain. I don't get mad. I get cold. Robot shutdown mode. Yeah, I could understand that. Um, I love the bad guys. Love them. I think for me, I had to really understand the villain to justify what all the bad things he was doing. Yeah, exactly. It's like there's I think the best villains out there are the ones that like once you really understand why they are the way they are, they do have some kind of origin story that makes them the way they are. And I think that is a part of the challenge of book 12 that will also play into this, is just this idea of why. Why did you do this? And really pulling that through. Sometimes like writing villains, the story I'm writing is a bit darker than I'm used to. Villain appears, me, he's just a baby. Yeah, the best villains. I could see where you're coming from. You're wrong, you're misguided, you're hurting people, but I can understand where you're coming from. It's like, have you ever seen the movie Swordfish? That's such a great example of a villain that once you understand, you're like, okay, I mean, I understand this. The morally gray of it all. Yeah, exactly. I like thinking about how when I write a villain, what their redemption will be or how their flaw impacts their POV. And that helps me have distance and be able to write it better. Yeah, that's good. You should watch The Uncanny Counter. Noodle workers by day, demon hunters by night. Okay, where is this, Abby? Where can I watch that? It's like personable and sweet actors who play great villains. Yeah. I mean, I think sometimes it can be interesting to try that darkness on and to channel some of those feelings that you've had in a different way. It doesn't mean that people who write dark are dark people. It's just we all have, that same idea of Bex having both light and dark. And obviously this is a theme that you will see in so many of my books. Like Parrish also has two sides to her. Harper also. It's like you definitely see that duality in most of my main heroines, and I think It's a great K-drama. Okay, I'm gonna go find this. Maybe that's what I'll do tonight. That's a reason why there's so many origin stories around. Yeah, for sure. I feel like the priestesses' daughters are sort of easy to feel for though too. They are raised that way, and there's no real escaping it other than we do have one heroine in Shadow Demon Saga who does escape it. And then of course, can't go any further than that. But I can change him syndrome. Oh, maybe. Maybe. Yeah, everyone has that yin and the yang. And I do think that as authors, if you can begin to identify what it is that you like, this is what Jennifer Lynn Barnes talks about, your id, like things that are the themes you naturally explore most often, the things that you think about, the things that you're drawn to in other characters and villains. Like if you love this idea of morally gray, the deeper you can go into why do I enjoy that so much? What is it? What aspects of this? What are the exact scenes and pieces and all of that stuff that I really, really love? And why am I drawn to it? Then when you're writing your own stories, you can pour as much of that love that you have for it into it and give it all of those pieces. And then it will resonate with more readers because you really broke down the things that you love. About it, and you poured it into your writing. She's so great. I've tried, she's said that she would come on my YouTube channel when she gets a break, but I think she's just been so busy. So hopefully she will eventually be able to come on my YouTube channel to talk about the id and things like that. Yeah, so episode 9, last chance to get your episode 9 in here. This also might mess up. When I share a screen, it makes it lag as well. So yeah, exactly. We all have the balance. We have the light side and the dark side, which would be the yin and the yang. And I think this is like not to step on a soapbox, but I feel like this is part of the problem with social media and cancel culture and stuff like that. Sometimes it's like everybody has flaws. Everybody has blind sides. Everybody has mistakes that they will make. Darkness, light, they have anger, they have trauma, all of these things, but it's like sometimes all it takes is one mess up and people judge your whole life's work based on it. So if there's one thing I could change right now about that whole interaction, would say, like, if you have people that you like online, give them a chance to explain or give them a chance to change or be redeemed, right? It's like, oh, it gets so hard because a lot of times the things people are like, oh, I hate that person now, is often just like a mistake or a misunderstanding or someone else twisting your words to make it mean something it didn't. And I think that being a creator for myself, who is very public with my life, that is probably one of the more terrifying things that happens, because it's just like, what if off the cuff I say something that gets taken the wrong way, and then I can't ever recover from it because people will judge and say, like, this is who she was the whole time, and it's like, ah. But I think that I have to just remember that even though it can appear that way, I don't think that it's always the fact, like the truth, that people will completely abandon you as long as you're able to say authentically, like, yeah, this was a blind spot for me and I really messed up. Because my greatest hope is that this community that we've built, you guys know me well enough because I've shared my heart, I've shared my flaws, I've shared the ways that I've messed up, the things that I've done wrong. And I feel like the more we build a true relationship, even though it's through the screen and sometimes bad internet, I hope that you guys would know and give me the benefit of the doubt if someone said something about me that didn't seem to ring true to what you know to be true about me. Anyway, besides that, let's draw a winner for episode 9's pages. Oh, hello, my little candy cane.
Thank you.
How are you?
Good.
Life with Jackie. Woo woo. All right. Life with Jackie. If you are still here, send your email, sarah@sarracannon.com, or send me an email to I
saw a thing that said hi, Evie.
Yep, people did say hi, Evie. It's going by fast. Send an email to sarah@sarracannon.com and I will send these pages out to you. I need to also send out, or I have already sent out all of the emails to the winners of the prizes and things like that for Spooktacular. So if you did not get an email, it probably means you did not win anything, sadly, but we will continue to have giveaways here on the Fridays and all of the pages and things like that. When the book is finished next week, I cannot believe this, like literally episode 12, like 10, 11, and 12 next week. When it is over, we will do kind of a release party as well for with some extra giveaways. And I will be posting a sorry, so my brain, I had such a busy day yesterday. My brain is like stuttering. I'll be posting a order form for anybody that wants to order paperbacks, signed paperbacks of A Mirror of Shadows. Do you have a good day at school? Yeah? You ready to have a good Friday night? All right, you guys, thank you so much for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yay, some people have won. Some people have got the book ready to get ordered. I have not put up a pre-order yet because, like I said, I know I'm pushing myself with these edits. Like even as I'm reading, I'm like, oh, I should have worded that better. I had another word that's too close to this other one. So there's definitely going to be edits. So I will let you guys know when a pre-order goes up, but it's not quite there yet. It said, hi, Miss Evie. That's my friend. Did want to say hi.
Hi.
All right, you guys, I will see you soon in the BCS breakdown. I'm going to go hang out with the kids for just a few minutes. If you are in the Broken Chapter Society, you can come join us in 15-ish, 13 minutes here for a breakdown, ask questions. We'll talk about story structure, share the ways that this story changed from what I originally had. If you are not in the Broken Chapter Society, I will see you on Monday for our episode 10. And yeah, one final week of readings for book 1. Thanks for being here. You're just going to give them lots of kisses. Can I get a kiss too? Mwah. All right, you guys. See you soon. Love you. Have an amazing weekend. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.